Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Seed Talk. My name is Layne, and with spring just around the corner, we've been getting lots of questions lately about snapdragons. So today we're going to be revisiting a conversation we had with Gretel Adams of Sunny Meadows Flower Farm in Columbus, Ohio. Back in episodes 35 and 36, Gretel joined us to talk about her farm's top 5 Mother's Day crops, one of which was snapdragons. In this clip, she shares why snapdragons are such an important flower for Sunny Meadows, information about snapdragon groups and her favorite varieties and colors, growing in structures versus the field, spacing when growing them as a one-and-done crop, the proper harvest stage, and more. Enjoy! All right, now we're going to move on to another crop you can start from seed, and that is snapdragons. So why are snapdragons an important Mother's Day crop for your farm?
I think for the same reason stock is. They smell nice. They add more fluff to the arrangements. You can start them from seed, and also the snapdragons we plant even more dense than we plant the stock. And so as far as the profit per square foot of the heated space that it takes to grow them, in our numbers that we've run, they're actually the highest profit per square foot plant that we grow.
Oh, wow. So is the price per stem that you're able to sell them for similar to stock?
Yeah, they're about in line. Stock's for florists, it's about $1 more than what we charge for the snapdragons. And we are growing them also as a one and done crop. So with the idea being we want this one, we're not pinching them. We want one nice thick stem, and that's what we're going to cut them tall enough to fit in like a 6-gallon bucket and sell that to florists. And then any of the ones that are the stems, if the stems are smaller than your pinky or they're too bloomed out, then those are the ones that get cut and used like in bouquets. So we do have like kind of 2 grades of things happening with some of these flowers in the greenhouse.
So what colors and varieties do you grow specifically for Mother's Day? And you can also talk about the groups that might be blooming at that time.
Yeah, so what's in the picture that you see, the like open-faced butterfly varieties, those are actually 1-2s. So for us, they're typically done by Mother's Day. So it's more the standard snaps that we can have for Mother's Day. Just because it does get a little bit warmer. So those are the group 3-4s. So if you don't know about snaps, there's ones that can handle specific temperature ranges and day length. So it's about both of those things. But if you look in the back of Ball's catalog, they have a chart of like, based on the date that you're sowing your seeds, which group number you should do. So the 3-4s are the ones that you grow in the summer, but there's still greenhouse forcing 3-4s. So we like Potomac and Opus are both good late season ones with the 3-4s happening. If you are cooler than us, you could probably still do Chantilly's later in the season. Or like I know people in the Pacific Northwest, they can grow the Chantilly's for a lot longer than us just because they stay like mild. But I think it just is that kind of intense spike we have in the heat. Sometimes it happens in May that causes them to be really skinny if you're growing the 1-2s in the wrong time of season.
So what colors have you found to be the most popular with your customers for Mother's Day snapdragons?
Well, I know it sounds like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but like the salmon, salmon PG colors, the like lavender is a good one to have for Mother's Day. We do also like royal, which is kind of this like dark purpley color, just to give you something different in there. And again, not a lot of red for us happening in the spring. So we save the red snaps we plant more for the ones that we do in the fall, kind of doing Thanksgiving into Christmas snaps. That's when the red ones are good for us.
All right. And when do you typically start planting snapdragons, and how does your succession planting look for that? And are they going in structures? Are they going in the field?
So for Mother's Day, they're in a heated space. They're kind of the same as the stock, where it's like we have them planted in the unheated space, but those don't typically bloom till right after Mother's Day. We only grow snaps in the greenhouse, so we do not do them outside in the summer, just because the quality is totally different, and I don't like the skinny stems that happen in the summer.
Yeah.
So we starting them around the end of the year, and then go through about week 9 or so is sort of our last planting. And then we start again in the fall. So they have pretty similar timing to what the stock does. And as long as you're planting the right groups, you can also get those fall snaps. If you're looking for an open face butterfly one that are a 3-4, Madam Butterfly is a good one, and you can buy them by the color too. You used to only be able to buy a mix. So those are the butterfly ones that we tend to use in the fall.
Great. And what's your typical bloom time frame on snapdragons in spring into summer?
So we usually have them for us April through June. So they're more heat tolerant than the stock is. And so we can typically have them through the end of June. And that's nice because it sort of helps us get through like wedding season and sort of into field production time.
And have you ever had any issues hitting Mother's Day with your snapdragons?
I think like it's probably the same answer as the stock, where it just is like sometimes maybe you didn't get them planted on time, you didn't get them seeded on time, or you planted the wrong series, or there just was like kind of extreme weather one way or the other, of it being really cold or being really warm. But most of the time they're on time. What's a bummer sometimes is when you're like, they're all in bud and it's Mother's Day. It's like the week after Mother's Day when they blow up. But
so frustrating.
Yeah. That's just part of farming, and sometimes it happens,
It is. All right. So you kind of already mentioned this, but you grow your snapdragons as one and done. You don't pinch or anything. And how tightly do you space these?
So these we put 3 per hole. So they're actually 36 plants per foot.
Oh, wow. So 3 plants in every 6-inch by 6-inch square.
Yeah. So that's another reason why we don't like pinch or anything. Basically, we're creating that environment of them growing one long straight stem, and then that's all we're gonna get out of them.
Did you always start off planting that tightly, or did you experiment pushing them closer and closer and eventually realize that it worked?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we started doing enterprise budgets, it was kind of like, okay, well, we need to like fit more plants per foot if we're going to like take the space away from ranunculus. And then we started with 2 plants per hole, like we did the stock, but the stock is a little bit more disease prone, and the snaps don't have as bushy of foliage, so that's why they can handle like being a little bit tighter. So yeah, it just has been through trial and error, figuring out, if you think about something like sweet peas, they're beautiful and you can have them for Mother's Day, but you only plant 2 rows per bed and they take a lot of space and time trellising them and all of that. So it was like once we really started like crunching numbers, I think was when we like understood kind of what that meant. And that's also why some crops like have been cut, like some space has been taken away from Dusty Miller, because it's like, yeah, it's nice to have some foliage, but we're not going to put that much focus on it when we know we could have a bed of snaps that looks like this, as opposed to having Dusty Miller like for Mother's Day. So
and we're actually going to include a link in the show notes where you'll be able to download Steve and Gretel's greenhouse transplant guide for how they space a bunch of different crops, by the way. So check that out if you're interested.
Yeah.
And can you just describe the proper harvest stage for snapdragons?
So they're similar to stock in that we want them to be 50 to 75% open. And so it's again about that like ratio of open ones to closed ones.
Well, I hope you found our conversation helpful, and thanks so much to Gretel for so generously sharing her snapdragon knowledge with us. If you're interested in hearing her insights on anemones, ranunculus, stock, and tulips, please feel free to listen to our full Mother's Day flowers conversations in episodes 35 and 36. If you'd like to learn more about growing flowers and structures, be sure to check out Gretel and her husband Steve's online on-demand flower farming school with the Gardener's Workshop, who sponsors this podcast. It's called Growing Cut Flower Crops in Hoop and Greenhouses. I'll put the link to that course in the show notes along with the contact information for Sunny Meadows Flower Farm. Thanks so much for joining us. Please be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. And until next time, happy growing!